The second opening qualifier of the Intel Africa Masters is going full speed ahead, with a number of teams already falling short, while some have realized their dreams of reaching the closed qualifier. Let's find out what transpired. Starting things off with Egypt, 4 teams will qualify through the second opening qualifier to join the 4 teams who made their way through the first opening qualifier, which is going to form the closed qualifier. We have a few familiar names in the second opening qualifier with the likes of Al Askar, Waffle Makers, and Al Gamden, all featuring in the second edition of the qualifier as well. Al Askar's qualification campaign got off to the worst possible start, losing all 3 of their matches over the weekend, leaving their qualification campaign in dire straits. On the flip side, Reminder were able to win all 3 of their games as they came out of the gate swinging, setting themselves as the benchmark team to beat. Waffle Makers, on the other hand, were able to win 1 game and lost the other as they find themselves in the middle of the pack. The rest of the teams in the region only played 1 game over the weekend, so we'll get a better idea of what to expect from them after the next weekend's action. Next up is North Africa. The first weekend saw tons of action taking place, with 5 teams' pursuit of the closed qualifier already being brought to a swift conclusion. Kawefel, Team Knot, Olympic, Aggressive, and ironically Dream Team have all been eliminated from the opening qualifier and are now out of contention for the Intel Africa Masters title. Moving things across to the upper bracket, a few teams are actually on the brink of qualification, with the winners of the round 3 matches all progressing through to the next stage of the competition. The pick of the matches has to be KM against R4. R4 once again find themselves on the brink of qualification, as was the case in the first opening qualifier as well, where they fell short at the final hurdle. Going up against KM is going to be no mean feat, with KM featuring a number of level 10 Faceit players. South Africa's second opening qualifier has been split into 2 groups, with Group A's proceedings already being completed, which means we have 4 out of the 8 teams coming through this opening qualifier already locked in place. Those 4 teams are XD, VC Rage Quit, and Regicide. XD made one heck of a statement with their run through the upper bracket, winning all of their games 16-5 or better. VCMIS is the other team who came through the upper brackets, however, they had a little bit more of a challenging time of it. Their last game came up against Regicide and they needed the full 30 rounds to best their opponents, eventually winning the game 16-14, with Leroy and JMT putting up big numbers. Rage Quit were dropped to the lower bracket by XD, which is nothing to be ashamed of. They were able to keep their heads down and needed just the 1 win over Velocity, who they managed to bear 16-8, securing themselves a spot in the next stage of the competition. As for Regicide, they also had to win just their 1 game in the lower bracket to book themselves a spot in that closed qualifier. They came up against Retired Llamas on Dust 2 and managed to beat them 16-9. With that, we have Group A's action done and dusted, and we'll be bringing you Group B's proceedings at the end of next weekend. As for Nigeria, we'll be covering their region's actions in the following news blast. There aren't many spots left up for grabs across the regions, which means this weekend's action is going to see a ton of heartbreak and jubilation, so be sure to tune into the next news blast to find out what happens.